Fan TV, we're here with the final word, and I'm joined by a bunch of Ireland's best select TikTokers. I've got Jonathan Morley, Paddy Murphy, and Dan Casey joining me for a look back at the Ireland game. 3-0 win, a comprehensive win, a standard win that you would expect. But I'll start with the lineup, and I have it here beside me. So Gavin Bazunu in goal. He's man of the match against Greece, so rightly takes his space. But I suppose I'll go with the players that came in rather than go through the whole thing. So Darragh O'Shea came back in for Darragh Lenihan. Michael Obafemi came in for Adam Ida. James McLean came in and captained, deciding his 100th cap. And then Jason Knight played right wing back, and Jamie McGrath came in as well. More of an attacking lineup, I suppose. Jonathan, what were your thoughts when you saw the lineup?
Well, I wasn't really surprised. Because we had to score goals. Obviously, in the first half, it wasn't looking very good. I thought actually Gibraltar were quite organised in the first half. They definitely came on a lot since I think they started playing in those qualifiers a few years ago. But it was a good second half. The team, obviously you'd have to set up quite advanced against Gibraltar, and kind of worked in the second half. I think Gibraltar got a little bit more tired, and Ireland found a few more gaps. I thought Jason Knight especially was excellent, and it was definitely the right decision to bring him back in.
Yeah, well, we'll go through the game kind of as it goes on, but we're just going to focus on the lineup. And Paddy, what did you think of the lineup?
That was pretty spot on, given you're looking at the bench there. There's no real contenders to start ahead of what we had. I'm glad to see Obafemi come back in over Ida. I didn't think it really worked for Ida over in Greece, so I was happy to see Michael Obafemi start. But yeah, I'm happy to see McLean starting. Listen, 100 caps is unbelievable, and I think it's important that he started that particular game. But I think his days of starting are probably coming to kind of an end. You'd probably want to see like an iteration of Mikey Johnston getting in there in a certain whatever setup Kenny goes for. But I was happy enough with it. Yeah.
And then Dan, I'll come to you then as well. Just your thoughts on the lineup, and were you happy to see any of those players in particular starting?
Nice, but I think we were missing Johnson. I think he was kind of the big exclusion from the lineup. I definitely would have had him in there, to be honest. And I think the injuries of Bene and Coleman, they're two fairly big losses for us. So I was just disappointed, but nothing Kenny could do about that.
Yeah, I think just, at the start of the game, it really set the tone. I think Smallbone got the ball out to Jason Knight, and he was straight up that wing in a position that we hadn't seen him playing before for Ireland. I know he's played a couple of times for Derby, but set up a chance for Jamie McGrath, and he kind of set the tone for the game. I know, look, we didn't score till the second half, but in terms of we were creating chances, and it seemed to be the game plan was get the ball out wide to our wide man, get the ball into the box and try and get in the end of crosses. And as I said, we just have some notes there just on the game itself, so just move that out of the way.
But those crosses felt fairly unimaginative. There was no one.
Yeah,
I know it was talked about on RT, so I'm not just stealing their point, but there was no one in the box actually making a run. They were just standing there. You're not going to get a header to score a goal when you're just standing in the middle of the box. You have to be making a run. You have to be doing something. There's no point in just sitting there when you're there 30 seconds too early.
Yeah, I think
fair was difficult though. Just because Gibraltar packed the box the entire game. So it was kind of difficult to get across, and maybe it would have been better, just kind of going through the middle or something like that. Obviously, don't really have the kind of many creative players in that midfield, but especially in the first half, I felt we kind of struggled with that because Gibraltar just had so many players in their own box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I say Kenny saw that, and then that's why he decided to bring Johnson on. Ultimately, he's good if he runs through the middle. So.
Yeah. I just think on the first 15 minutes I have there, we were passing the ball around well, but no real end product. And I do feel like those crosses into the box, as you say, Dan, you need to be kind of making a run for them. But the crosses were in the right areas, but I just don't think maybe we had enough bodies to be attacking the ball because Gibraltar had so many back. And I think when you look at a lot of the crosses, they were just that slightly bit over hit, that they were just maybe over the players' heads. And if you in the second half, we obviously saw the goals were scored, and we'll come to that. But you kind of need to be meeting the header rather than just kind of waiting for it, and then it's kind of going over the top of your head. But they weren't causing us any sort of threat. They had one up front, and largely he was spending a lot of time kind of on the halfway line or in and around his own box. And it wasn't really causing any sort of threat. And I think that's where the the halftime substitution to take away the extra defender at the back and go with an extra attacker came from. I'm just seeing there, just Knight with another great ball, and Obafemi wasn't sharp enough to get on there. That was again a good ball into the box, but our striker, not being ready, I suppose, or not. He just didn't look sharp. I know, Paddy, you were talking about Obafemi. Were you surprised with kind of how he turned out in the end, and maybe that's why he didn't play against Greece at starting?
Yeah, it wasn't his best. I think it was between the France game and then that game. He only played about 90 minutes or so for Burnley. I know he wasn't like first choice by any means, so I think he was just lacking match of sharpness. I think that's going to come into fruition a lot more next season, because I can't imagine he starts in the Premier League with Burnley. I just thought it was a very cagey game, very cagey start. I think because we needed a win so badly, we're against a seemingly poor opposition. People are they're trying to force it, and yeah, Obafemi was one of the guys who didn't look really sharp at all. But I think it's just down to probably lack of football at club level, because as I said, between the France game and this one, he only played about 90 minutes for Burnley.
Yeah, Dan, his other strike partner, Evan Ferguson, was quite quiet, but he, again, shown his quality, because he gets a chance out of basically makes a chance out of nothing. From the left hand side, he gets the ball and turns and has a snapshot, and he kind of reminded everyone, going, "Oh, well, hang on, this fella has a little bit about him."
Absolutely, he has by far and away the most potential on that pitch. He's going to bang in some serious amount of goals for us. Like we're looking to further replacement for Robbie Keane. I'm probably speaking too soon, but I'd say he'll be it now. It's probably a bit late to be saying it in the otherwise.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'll come to you as well. Just on the two strikers, and I suppose the first kind of half an hour. How did you feel like it was going? Were you nervous at all?
Not really, Paul. Like, I mean, I knew a goal would come at some stage. I was even saying to myself at half time, I was thinking, look, I mean, it shouldn't be in there at half time against Gibraltar. I mean, Ireland are a lot better than this, but I knew a goal would come eventually. The second half, Ferguson obviously had a great header. And as you say, I think Mikey Johnson made the difference in the second half. I think he really needs to start from now on, because we have so few wingers who actually get the ball and take a player on, cut inside, try to do something, try to make something happen. So, Johnson was definitely very important to that.
People were saying for that first goal, it was all luck, but Johnson had to be aware that was going to happen. Not a lot of teams would have been ready for it, Gibraltar or not. So, fair play to him. He took a chance. He took it.
And on Ferguson, I think it's clear to see he just has it. Like, he has the quality. Like, he's just I don't like piling pressure on him, but he knows how good he is and can be. But he just has the full package for a centre forward. He has the profile, the link up play. He's lethal in the air. And obviously, sometimes in this team, he can not be utilised too much. But that's not his fault. Like, the Greece game was not his fault. It was just the whole rest of the team around them were very poor. But I think he's the key man for this era, and we're lucky, because we've been crying out for a proper homegrown goal scorer since Robbie kind of retired. So it's exciting times for him.
And your club Bows developed them.
Big, yeah, absolutely. Played a big hand, and obviously shout out to give St. Kevin's a big shout out. But yeah, been there since the start. Big Bows man myself. So yeah, Bows carry Ireland as usual. I just sat there because we just did speak about Ferguson and kind of what he brings, but there was actually a chance that he created himself. Obafemi linked up and he created a chance, showed brilliant strength on the edge of the box, laid it off to Jamie McGrath, and he kind of has a snapshot with his left foot, and the keeper made a good save. Thought the keeper actually had a good game for them. He made some decent saves, and that was just before half time, the McGrath effort, and then we're kind of going in half time 0-0. But what, Paddy, I suppose yourself, half time thoughts 0-0. There was boos ringing out from the crowd. Did you feel as though the pressure was really mounting and we could potentially see a banana skin situation? Like Jonathan said, I never truly believed we were going to lose that game. But that's that's a game that we should have would have been looking to get a 4, 5, 6 would have been beautiful. And to be 0-0 at half time against Gibraltar, make no mistake, is not good enough. But they were very resolute. They packed the box, they defended well, and I can't blame the fans in New Viva for putting the boo out. But I knew we'd win eventually, and I think the second half performance, which we'll get on to, made up for the shite show of the first half. But yeah, it wasn't a great half time talk anyway.
Well, Johnson's already spoken a bit about the second half. Dan, your halftime thoughts?
Oh, it was just one of the most boring halves football of all time. It was just so predictable from us. Gibraltar knew exactly what we were doing every time, going down to wings. Yeah, it was just very crap. I can understand the boost, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's just a sense of frustration that we couldn't score, we couldn't break them down, and that's what provoked the halftime substitution of Johnson. And I thought, look, that was the game changer. That was the key. Him coming on and being that extra attacker, and I just think he is someone now who we'll probably look upon in games like that to kind of open up defences. Similar maybe to McGeady. I spoke to him after the game and he spoke about similarities between himself and McGeady. He grew up watching him. He was his hero. But then again, there's also, opening up the game and not being afraid to take on your man, a bit like Wes Hoolahan as well, because he can kind of spot a ball. So maybe he's a bit of a mix of the two, and but he's probably going to be a big game player for us. It's mad how we can't seem to get a game for Celtic, and he used to go on loan to Portugal. And even, a lot of eyebrows were raised when he did get the allegiances switched, and then he got picked into the team. So for him to come in and he immediately made a difference. I see there at the 46th minute mark, Josh Cullen had a chance, and that was I think that was a good chance as well. And then in the 50th minute, Ferguson, who we've spoken about already, he's the one who causes the free kick, a nice little flick, and he gets the handball, and that's what causes the free kick that led to the goal. But you could see there, things were starting to calm a little bit with the subs, and we were starting to break them down that little bit. But Jonathan, I didn't come to you in the halftime stuff there because you'd spoken about kind of the goal and stuff like that. So talk to me about Smallbone's free kick and the goal then.
Yeah, to be honest, I think we were a little bit lucky to get the goal at that time. Granted, I mean, Ireland were obviously the better team, but we created very, very little until then. It was a nice little deflection, and then obviously an easy tap in for Johnson. But I felt in the second half, if it had got to 60, 65, even 70, of course, but I felt 60 as such. If it was 0-0, we really could have struggled to win that game. So it was a nice little bit of luck to get, because I felt once you get one in a game like that, you get two or three. It was a nice little bit of luck. But fair play to Johnson. Obviously, he was Johnny on the spot for to tap that in. But I thought Ireland played a lot more freely afterwards.
Yeah. Paddy, I was going to go to you then. Just at that stage, I felt anyway, certainly sitting at the stadium, that if we got one, a few would flow. I remember saying it on the story at the time. Was that the general sense that reached you?
Yeah, I think it was just about breaking down the initial kind of the anxiety and not having the goal. But once the first came, you could feel that it was going to become a 2 or 3 job. I think, as you said, Johnston absolutely changed the game, because he made us unpredictable in the attacking sense. Because as Dan was saying, in the first half, it was very down the line, pull it back. They knew what was coming. But Johnston just has that skill set that is unpredictable, and he's a gem. He's such a gem. Like I would say he's the best converter we've had in many years in terms of lads who change allegiances. Like, I think he can be a real key man for us going forward. But yeah, once we got the first one, it opened the game up a lot, and it was a much more enjoyable second half, that's for sure.
Yeah. Dan, Troy Parrott came on for Obafemi, 59th minute. 1 minute later, Evan Ferguson gets a goal. Good play by Johnson. And the ball went out to McLean, who we probably haven't spoken about, and I'm sure we will now. He provides a great ball. And I did say, look, both wing backs had been supplying good balls into the box, but it was, as you say, up to the players to get in there. Eventually, Starboy comes up trumps and gets the goal. What were your thoughts on the goal?
He was decent. He was decent enough. Look, if you want one man pitch who's going to take that chance, it's going to be Evan, like every single time. But you'd be expecting him to probably score from there anyway, to be fair to him. But well worked in.
The two assists, look, McLean just shows his class in that moment, like pinpoint cross. Now, of course, the is a Gibraltarian defense didn't necessarily defend it too well, but it was like a training ground work. You can see that. You can imagine that's been done in the training ground many times, but it was clean. It was nice to see. It was Matt Clean. Sorry, Matt Clean.
The only thing I'd say is, in terms of McLean, like, that hasn't worked for an awful long time. He's always had a great cross in off the left, but I kind of feel, as you said there, Paddy, the opposition was quite pertinent to that goal. I mean, when is the last time we've actually seen that against a half-decent side? And it's no disrespect to James McLean, but I do like him. I respect him, but is that kind of the route to go down anymore? Is that the route to go down anymore? I'm not so sure. I think McLean's days of kind of getting assists as such is kind of past. I don't know. Actually, this would be a good question. When was his last assist before this game?
Scotland game
in the 4-0, was it 4-0, 3-0?
Yeah, corner.
But yeah, I agree with what you said there, Paddy. Yeah, definitely the opposition was pertinent to that goal. That's for sure.
I do. Yeah, I think. Look, we know Gibraltar are like, we've played teams like San Marino and these types of teams. That Gibraltar are probably worse than them. We should be going out and we should be beating them, and it shouldn't be maybe. We made kind of hard work of it at the first half, but I think then Kenny realised, okay, look, why are we sitting off here when we could really be playing an extra man? And then that's when things started to change. But I do think McLean was providing those type of crosses the whole game, and I thought he linked up well with McGrath on that side, and I thought Smallbone worked really well with Jason Knight on the other side, so they were kind of just doubling up on that side. And then say the full-backs, so like Darragh O'Shea was playing left centre back, and then Nathan Collins, they were getting involved. But then when you had the four, you could just allow a midfielder just to drop in, and then you had the extra attacker, so it made sense. And you were kind of always seeing it was always just 2-on-1. It was John Egan and one of the who went off, I think Nathan Collins. So it was Darragh O'Shea and Johnny Egan just on the striker, and then everyone else could just kind of get on with things, and it allowed the wing backs or full backs in the second half to get forward and get the balls in, and I think we were overloading them so much that they just didn't know what to do. And once the first goal went in, that they're not really fighting to kind of keep it. Yeah, they kind of have to go for it in some ways, or else just try and keep the score down. But then when we got a little bit of confidence and our patience paid off, and then he was just making subs, and Smallbone went off. Alan Brown came on. He put a good ball in for, I think it was Evan First. The keeper made a good save. The keeper made a couple of good saves. I remember there was a double chance there. The ball nearly came, double chance there, nearly falls at Troy Parrott's feet, and then Josh Cullen has a strike from distance which the keeper tipped away. And then McLean obviously himself had a big chance that I thought he missed, like, because in the stadium it looked like he just lashed it over, but it was an unbelievable block.
Paddy, your man who blocked it. Yeah, your man who blocked it at place for Dundalk, I believe, isn't it?
Annesley,
something like that. Yeah, I when I seen it, I was like, go on, there we go. And I thought he missed it, but no, the block was unbelievable. You're almost thinking, here, lad, come on. You're 2-0 down anyway. Let him get the goal on his 100. It would have been a lovely moment, but it wasn't to be. He still got obviously 2 assists, but yeah, the block from your man and Annesley or Ainsley was really, really good.
I saw a thing on Twitter the other day. Someone was tweeting Dan McDonnell, and they said, when was the last time a League of Ireland player played an international against Ireland? So someone currently playing in the League of Ireland. So if anyone is watching that and knows the answer to that, the last player to do it, or is he the only player to ever do it, we'll be interested to hear.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a
fair play to anyone who pulls that. Fair play.
Yeah, there's a pub quiz question. Then after McLean's chance, Jamie McGrath actually hits the crossbar with a header from a McLean corner as well. So he was probably denied a third assist there and a goal in the space of a minute. I mean, if he scores, the corner never happens. But yeah, I think overall, if you're looking at McLean's performance, if that was, I'm not going to say it's his last game, but if it was his last game to kind of sign off on, it was kind of perfect. The only thing he didn't do was score. And, he got a lovely reception. The president handed him his 100th cap. His family and all were out on the pitch. And he was getting all the love afterwards and everything like that. And it just seemed as though it was the perfect fitting. He was captain on the night. Everything seemed to go well for him, didn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he was good. It was nice that he put in a performance on a night like that. I think it's been a while, kind of as such, since he's been good enough to start in that team. But obviously, on his 100 cap, it was nice to see him start. It was nice to see him play well, and it was nice to see him get 2 assists as well. Obviously, if he got the the goal that would have been the cherry on top. But no, it was a good performance. He was good, and anybody who gets 100 caps for Ireland is a legend. Let's face it,
Especially McLean with all the sticky faces over in England, like playing for Ireland means so much for him. So it was lovely to see him and his family get and it was a lovely moment. Now, I think a lot of time he's come under some stick, but I think over his 100 caps, he's been a seriously important player for us. If I was him, like you'd love to know, will he get another 5, 6, 7? Maybe will he be a bit part player? Who knows? If I was him, I'd nearly go out on the top. Like, you know what, I've had made me 100. Let's retire. Maybe he might see out this campaign and potentially we could shock people and get to Germany. But yeah, I love McLean. Obviously, he stands for a lot more than just a footballer. And he's a great man. I'd imagine. Never met him, but I can imagine he's a great man.
He would be to you guys. He still has us blocked on Instagram, but
oh right,
never liked him. Never liked.
No, I do. I think I made a comment before and he wasn't best pleased about it. So it is what it is. He seemed happy enough in the mix zone afterwards. I didn't hang around to chat with him because I didn't know what reaction I was going to get. But anyway, I'm delighted he got his 100th cap, and as you say, he's deserved it. We've definitely praised him a lot more than criticised him over the years. So, it is what it is. Some people you can't say anything about. Just then, obviously, on Ferguson, he had that headed chance afterwards, which the keeper made a good save from. Then he went off. Adam Eada came on. And then the man of the match was given out just before the final goal that Adam Eada scored. Jason Knight was player of the match. Mine was Mikey Johnston. Paddy, who was yours?
I'd probably have to agree. Listen, I think obviously Knight was decent, but the difference Johnston made when he came on, I know he only played a half, but he changed the game with how he came on. So for me, it'll have to be him. A joy to watch. I won't lie. Before he made his debut, I believe I had never heard of him because I'm not a big Celtic man or anything like. I just never heard of him. And I was like, who is this? Everyone was like, oh, gets injury prone or he doesn't play or whatever. I was like, I don't care. I'm getting excited. We haven't seen like this in an Ireland squad in a little bit. So yeah, for me, man of the match, Johnston for sure.
Yeah. Dan, who was yours?
MJ as well. The only thing that went against him was he just didn't start the game. That's the only reason he wasn't man of the match.
And Johnson.
Yeah, like I said, Jason Knight was excellent earlier, but so I understand why he was given it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of as both the lads said there, I mean, he was definitely the guy who came on, pushed Ireland forward, made things happen. So I'd agree with the two boys, to be honest.
Yeah, the only thing that pips it for me is obviously he got the goal, but he was actually involved in all 3 goals. So before the ball went to McLean, I think 2 of the times he was involved in it. So I think he was instrumental throughout the victory. So I do think Jamie McGrath deserves a good shout. Every time he comes in and plays for Ireland, he does really well. And he's an absolute gent of a man as well. So great to see him back in, and hopefully he has a good season. I know he's back at Wigan now, and hopefully he doesn't stay there for too long. Same as McLean. I just don't think we should be having players in League One. And I know Jason Knight's there at the moment, but hopefully he's going to move on from Derby. I think he has to as well. I think he's far too good. I think the 3 of them are too good for that level. I think McLean's the only one who's guaranteed to stay at Wigan, but and in League One, whereas I think the other 2 could be off somewhere else. It'd be interesting to see. But Adam Eada, I know we kind of briefly touched on him, but he got his first international goal. I think a lot of people have been wanting to see that for a long time. He's a nice young fella as well, and he's our highest goal scorer at underage. So to see him finally get his goal, you could see how much it meant to players like Troy Parrott and stuff like that who came up with him the whole way up. Jason Knight and Darrow O'Shea and stuff like that, who were absolutely delighted from him. And I know John Egan is a good friend of his as well. So I suppose I'll go to the Cork man and ask him about it.
Fair play to Adam. I would have picked Obafemi in the squad over him in the Greece game, but then Obafemi didn't really have the great game against Gibraltar either. So obviously Kenny probably saw something in training there. Just delighted for Adam, to be fair to him. He's been a good servant Ireland, as you said, underage. So yeah, great for him to finally get his goal. Will he kick on? I can't really see it happening, to be honest. I'd probably still put in Ogbenny in the side over him, to be honest. But look, we need someone off the bench anyway to do damage, so hopefully he can be that guy.
Jonathan, do you think if he has a good season at Norwich and it's just banging them in, because people tend to forget he did get injured at the back end of the Premier League when Norwich was there, and remember he got his first goal against Everton and he was starting to score regularly, and a lot of people say if he had maybe stayed fit, they could have stayed up that season. Do you think maybe if he stayed injury free this season, he's got players like Shane Duffy there with him as well, at the club as well, and I'd say they'll be one of the teams favoured to go up. I know they're going through a bit of a transition, but I still think that they'll be thereabouts come the end of the season, especially after how poor this season was being. They're really looking to kind of, I think, spend, and I think they're going to sell Owen Van Medeli, but I think they are looking to spend on players and get up there. And Timu Pukki he's not getting any younger, so I think Adam's going to probably be the main man if he can stay fit.
Possibly. As far as I'm aware, he's had good seasons before. He hasn't really converted to the Irish team. But yeah, to be honest, I kind of agree with what Dan said there. I'd rate Obafemi, I'd rate Benny over him until he shows a little bit more. But as you said, Paul, I mean, if he does have a good season for Norwich, maybe he might get a lot of confidence from that. He might filter through the Irish team. You never know. Maybe since he's got his first goal now, many more will come. But yeah, to be honest, I keep him where he is at the moment, kind of coming off the bench last 10 or last 20, and kind of see where it goes from there. But hopefully he can bang a few in for Norwich this season.
And Paddy, I'll ask you about him then.
Well, yeah, I think listen, it's the Championship. Norwich had a poor season last year by their standards. Usually they come straight back up, so it's imperative that they are fighting the top half. And I think if he's staying at Norwich, you'd want to have any aspirations to really kick on. You need to be a key man for them, and I hope he is. As it was a long overdue goal, it was lovely to see. Obviously, we actually have a lot of competition now up top. But listen, he has a natural, just a good skill set, and I really hope he can kick on. But he needs to have a big season with Norwich. Whether he can, who knows? That league next year is the hardest championship I've ever seen. It's scarily tough. So Norwich will be doing well to come up. So if they do, hopefully he's a key man.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And I think if he could just start the season well, avoid injuries, and he could be key in September, because he's played some big performances against some good teams like Portugal away. Him and Aaron Connolly tore them apart away. I know we lost in the end, but for the 88 minutes it was that we were ahead, the two of them were brilliant up top, and he led the line very well against, Ruben Diaz was tipped as probably the best defender in the world at that moment in time. And Pepe, I think, was alongside him. So he came in there doing unbelievable. Same with Aaron Connolly. I think Aaron Connolly is the only young lad now who hasn't got his first international goal, and I'm sure that he'll be looking to start the season well as well. But a year or two ago we were going, where are all these young players going to come from? Where are we going to start seeing some new strikers? Where are we going to start seeing some new options? And now we have it. I know some of them aren't maybe as far along in their development as we would like Troy Parrott and stuff like that. Maybe Obafemi, because I think he's not tied down with Burnley yet. That's still up in the air whether he'll actually sign for them or not. He's still a Swansea player until he signs the contract with Burnley. He was only on loan till the end of the season. They have an option to buy. I don't know when that option comes. It might be the 1st of July, so there's still time on that. So, but yeah, look, I think it's exciting that we actually have striking options there. We've also got a player who can maybe unlock defences that we haven't had before in Mikey Johnston. Hopefully we can get a couple of more of them. Andrew Moore at Brighton, he looks like he's going to go out on loan to Blackburn. Saw that today. Darrell O'Shea's going to move to Burnley now under Vincent Kompany, so he'll be playing in the Premier League. He's in advanced talks. I think he's having a medical tomorrow. So we're starting to see players kind of kicking on that a little bit more, and hopefully with the Premier League then experience on top of that, we'll start seeing better performances from the lads. John Egan's obviously back in the Premier League as well, with Sheffield United. So it'll be good, because this season we've seen it's been Premier League players have been scarce from an Irish point of view.
I think it was the lowest Premier League involvement ever from an Irish point of view in terms of both appearances and goals. So listen, that's not ideal, but as I said, I think we have a good few coming back up. John Egan with Sheffield, obviously the Burnley boys, and as you said, Darrell O'Shea. So yeah, no, I think there's a lot of negative talk about Greece and all. At the end of the day, it's a transitional period. We it's like the youth being bedded in is a really good sign, I think, and especially even younger, the 21s have so many great players. I think while right now in terms of qualifying for the Euros is tough, I think the future is going to be bright, and I'm excited by it. A lot of good lads in there. I just think with the
we've been in such a transitional period for so long, and I think it was a before Stephen Kenny thing. He's just been the unlucky man who's taken the job on. And look, I don't blame him for taking the job on. And I think what he's done in terms of bringing players in will benefit the next manager, because I don't think he'll be in charge after the campaign. It's something we will talk about in a couple of minutes. But I think if you look at, these players are kind of learning on the job. Malumbi, O'Shea, Collins, Bazunu, they're all learning on the. They haven't been in the situation before, this high pressure situation. Even Adam Ida, Troy Parrott, all these lads, they're kind of learning on the job. Evan Ferguson as well, and they're all kind of. I think what's happening right now will benefit them in the future. I know we might not be qualifying for stuff, but just in terms of experience and seeing out games, or maybe if we go a goal up to sit in, these type of things where we've kind of gotten it wrong in the past. And maybe the midfielders as well, because they at times look lost in there, giving the ball away a lot more, like against Greece. When we're under the cosh against teams, we give the ball away very easily. We did it against France, got punished. But like you say, there is a lot of players and a lot of positives in terms of our players coming through. I know people are saying it's the worst, Liam Brady says the worst group of players that he's seen. I don't know if that is the case, because how far along are they? And playing at their clubs, they're only all kind of starting their careers really at their clubs. Jonathan, what's your thoughts on it?
Sorry, Paul. What as such? What's the question? I was listening, but I'm not exactly sure what the question was. Yeah, it was. I'm just not sure what's the exact question. Sorry,
so
Paul.
basically, what I'm saying to you is, do you feel it's the worst team that you can remember in existence of following Ireland, and are you excited by, I suppose, the future of this Irish team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, there's definitely a lot of youngsters coming up. We have had it in the past as well, and they haven't really done as well as possibly they should. So hopefully these months coming up in the future, we will see the benefits of that in the future. But in terms of being the worst group of players in my lifetime, I'm not sure if the lads agree. It probably is. We have very little Premier League representation. As you mentioned, it's a lot of Championship, some League One. So it probably is. So I mean, as you said earlier, Paul, Stephen Kenny to inherit that hasn't exactly been very lucky. But I still do feel we can do better than what we're doing. But in terms of the question, yes, I probably would say yes, to be fair. I can't think of a lower kind of standard group of players in terms of the leagues that they're playing in.
I think experience-wise, it is. Like, I think a lot of these players are quality and will go on to have great careers, but if it's just experience-wise, as you said, Paul, a lot of them are starting out. Like, Bazunu is only starting out, and he's had a rough year at Southampton, but he's a great goalkeeper. John Egan's experience, to be fair. Nathan Collins, again, relatively only starting out. Knight, obviously McLean, yes, he's he's a veteran, but like McGrath, Smallbone, Ferguson, all starting out. Like, so in terms of experience, it's probably yes, but I don't think, like, the worst quality, I think, is such a harsh thing to say, because there is some seriously good footballers in here, but just the experience, you can't, like, as you said, they're learning on the job. It's very tough, a lot of like expectation and pressure, and at the end of the day, like, people are gonna, as you talk about Kenny and other, he's not a miracle worker. He can't just make these guys ready for the big stage.
You mentioned a worst group. Can you actually mention a worst group? Tell me a worst team.
Well, I don't think that's beneficial for anyone to say.
No, but I'm not criticizing the players. I'm not criticizing the players.
Well, you kind of are saying the worst group of players ever.
I'm not. Paul asked me a question. I said yes. Paul asked me a question.
What about the team?
And a lot of people say the same thing.
What about the team that after Euro 2012? Because there wasn't like too many. I know Robbie Keane and stuff like that but he was in the back end of his career. Shay Given was in the back end of his career. A lot of them just weren't performing to the levels that we obviously knew when they were at their levels. They were unbelievable. Simon Cox.
Sean St. Ledger has been knocking around.
Sean St. Ledger is
Glenn Whelan.
I thought Glenn Whelan was a fantastic player, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was underrated.
We had Houlihan though, no?
We did have Houlihan. But then I think when Martin O'Neill came in, people forget that we had Darryl Murphy starting up front in a lot of those games, and he was doing nothing. But he was just
Literally, Carl. What a boy.
But that's what I mean. It's like, it depends on what way you look at it. I see players there who I think will go on to. I really don't believe that Bazunu had that bad of a season for Southampton. I don't think he would stay in that position for so long. Like, his players around him just weren't that good. That's
The defence let him down completely.
You look at him, but you look at him in any of the big games that we've had for Ireland, how good he's been. Like, a France game, and any other, the Greece game the other night, we probably would have lost 6-1 without him.
He's an unbelievable goalkeeper. The abuse he gets is insane. That Southampton team was just diabolical. The defence in front of him. He'll stay in the Championship, I hope, just for his experience. Like, and he'll be a key man in getting Southampton back up, because I think they'll romp that league.
Sorry, Dan, Liverpool boys. Yeah, with the two Liverpool boys take Kelleher over Bazunu.
No, Bazunu is a better goalkeeper for sure.
I'd probably take Bazunu, but at the same time, I mean, I think it's harsh on Kelleher too, because I mean, we only see Kelleher maybe 2 or 3 times a year. You know what I mean? And every time we see Kelleher, like, say for example, we've seen Kelleher the last game of the season against Southampton. He's completely cold. Like, he has no match fitness whatsoever. And you know what I mean? So he's coming into a game where he hasn't played for about 4 or 5 months, and he's expected to be good. I think not going to be. So I think it's harsh on Kelleher too.
I think this will tell you all you need to know. I think when we played Southampton in the final day and he played, we conceded the 3 goals or whatever. At the time, lots of Liverpool fans at the time, and they were like, "This is life without Alisson, so let's pray he stays fit." Because listen, fair play to Quiveen. He's in a great position in life and stuff, but he is not a top level goalkeeper, in my opinion. But as Jonathan said, he is coming in all the time very cold. But I think 1-on-1, Bazunu is a far better goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'd take Bazunu as well. But I think Kelleher, though, in terms of big matches, you could argue Kelleher has played in higher matches and actually played well in these matches, higher level matches, and actually played well in these matches. So I think Bazunu. I think Bazunu is a better goalkeeper, but at the same time, I think people need to respect Kelleher as well, because he basically won us the Carabao Cup last season. He was, pertinent in the cup competitions last few seasons. Whenever he's came in, he was excellent. So, he probably has more experience of higher level games. So I'm saying respect Kelleher, but probably Bazunu is better.
I think the Carabao Cup final is the anomaly there. Like, I think he talked about the cup. I remember a couple of years ago he conceded about 4 goals to Arsenal at home. Like, I think he leaks goals. I think even for Ireland, some of the times he's played, he's let in a couple of howlers. I think he is more prone to a howler than Bazunu. I can't actually remember Bazunu having a howler in an Ireland shirt. Or so
I can.
To be fair. Oh, can you?
Watch the Portugal where he gave the penalty away, but it wasn't really a howler.
Oh yeah.
He saved the penalty. He saved the penalty. Yeah. He just wanted that for his highlight reel.
Yeah. He wanted to save a pen against Ronaldo for the highlight reel. Can't blame him. Great.
To be fair, Kelleher's talking about leaving Liverpool. I think it'd be fair completely to judge Quiveen Kelleher when he goes off somewhere else, when he's playing 38 games a season, and then kind of see it.
He won't be. I see. That's the thing. From a selfish Liverpool fan point of view, there's no benefit in us letting Kelleher go, because as a number 2, he's a great choice. And if he leaves, we have Adrian, and we don't want that. So I think he should go for his own career. But from a selfish point of view, I hope he doesn't.
Yeah, I think he has a higher ceiling than Bazunu. I think get him into decent.
You would say that. You're from Cork.
Games. True, but I think give him the 38 games. I think he's actually probably he has more potential, I feel, than Bazunu. But I definitely have Bazunu starting for Ireland. Anyway.
I just my thing just with the two of them is, does Kelleher make a lot of mistakes if he plays the length of time of the season as Bazunu did? That's something I would be interested to see over the course of the season. I think, look, there's not much of there's not much between them, and that's evident because Mark Travers was playing more regularly than the two of them, but yet still couldn't get in ahead of them at Bournemouth. So it's interesting. Look, we've 3.
Like if Klopp is keeping Kelleher around for this long, there must be something there he's seeing in him, and he must be learning off Alisson as well, who is the best goalkeeper or like day in day out. So
it's all well and good. It's all well and good. It's all well and good learning. But you need to go out and play. That's what I like more about Bazunu, is his attitude. I sat down with him after his sign for Southampton, and just his mentality and everything about him is just unbelievable. And you can tell he's going to be a future captain one day. He purposely sits with all the experienced players to kind of learn off them and stuff like that. He wanted to get away from under-23 football. He went down and played with Rochdale in League, I think League 1 at the time. Then he stayed in League 1 again with Portsmouth and got Player of the Year there, and then got his move to Portsmouth, or to Southampton. If Everton were to sell Jordan Pickford to Man United, like it's been linked, the first person I would want as an Everton fan is Gavin Bazunu.
Gavin, don't do it. Don't do it, Gavin.
Yeah.
Then he'd be the real good goalkeeper on Merseyside. But anyway, let's we'll keep it Ireland related, and let's move on then. Just to kind of finish off with just Stephen Kenny. Look, a lot of people think the campaign's over. There's still a lot of football to be played in September. There's 2 huge games, the Netherlands and France, and it's going to be a really tough ask. But from a lot of people are calling for the manager's head. We obviously saw the clip of Kenny struggling kind of with the media comments the other day. The Matchday -1 press conference where he was kind of told his record was shambolic and stuff, and he just kind of tended to kind of shy away from it a little bit. James McLean had to intervene and stuff like that, and he kind of looked a little bit broken. I like Stephen Kenny as a man. He's a great guy. He's a gentleman, but sometimes that can work to your detriment, and probably him being so nice to the media in the past has kind of led to stuff like that where he now has to fire back to kind of get that bit of respect. But everyone's always asked us to talk about have a bit of objectivity with Kenny, and you know, we've generally kind of gone easy on him because we know what he's dealing with in terms of the players, the level they're playing at in comparison to previous Irish teams. And that's going to be the constant drum that everyone's going to be playing, is that he is going to be compared to Italian 90, Euro 88, 94 World Cup, 2002 World Cup. That's ultimately where the bar has been set, and that's ultimately where our teams are always going to be compared to, where a lot of them don't have the experience. You're relying on players like Jeff Hendrick and Shane Duffy, who both, you know, I think Hendrick's not a favourite player anymore because he hasn't been playing well at club level. He can't even, he got relegated with Reading, I think.
Reading, yeah.
So you look at him, and you got Duffy, who's kind of phasing out a little bit. He's gone to Norwich. He might get some first team football, be back in the squad. But it just seems as though we're just going to have a lot of young players coming through now, and they're going to be learning on the job. Do you think it's fair, Paddy, that to say that Stephen Kenny has to go? And if so, or if not, maybe just to spark a little bit of a debate, like who would you bring in if Kenny was to go, or would you let him see out the campaign and just bring in someone then? Long-winded question again. Sorry.
I don't agree. I can see why people will say Kenny out, but I don't agree with Kenny out. When people say Kenny out, they never have who in. It's like, oh yeah, Kenny out, but then you say, oh, who do you want to get in? And then they come off with these mental names that, first of all, can't afford. So I think Kenny, he has good football ideologies. He has the team like playing a nice brand of football, at least better than some of the teams gone by. But like, he's not a miracle worker either. And as you said about maybe the overall quality of the squad, like who can realistically come in here and do better? For a one, and I say who, but one that we can afford, one that's willing to come. You know, it's a very tough situation. I certainly let him carry out the campaign. Like, we've had one bad result, which is away at Greece. That was always going to be a tough game away in Athens.
Well, I think sorry, Paddy. I think the other results is games where we've probably been expected to go out and win. Armenia, Luxembourg at home. I know that was during COVID, but there's those games as well that haven't worked well in terms of his record. And then if you look at his actual record, I think he was 3 wins at 24, so I think he's 4 wins at 25 now. It's not in competitive games, that is. Sorry. So that I think that's what a lot of people are getting the kind of.
Who could come in and better that though? You know, yes, he's been a man in charge. We had these poor results, but I think that's been as a result of the overall squad level rather than him specifically. I don't know. I have not heard one like kind of realistic name from anyone yet on Twitter and everywhere else. But I don't know who could come in and that would want to, and we could afford. But I think, as you said, he seems like a great man. You let him carry out the campaign, and who knows, a miracle might happen.
Jonathan, you look like you were going to say something there, so I'll let you come in. And I suppose the same question, not as long-winded, but same question goes to you.
No, No, to be fair, just on the base of what Paddy said, who can come in and do better. I mean, the bar is set incredibly low, boys. Like, let's have it right. It just is. I mean, I just did a little bit of quick research there on Stephen Kenny last night, and what you said there, Paul, earlier on, I really like Stephen Kenny. He comes across as an absolute gent. I really like him as a person. I want to give him all the time as possible in this job. But boys, the fact is, he's been 3 years here. He's been over 3 years here. 34 games, 10 wins, 12 losses, 10 draws, 29% win percentage in 34 games. The teams we have beat out of those 10 wins have been Andorra, Azerbaijan, Qatar, Luxembourg, Lithuania, Malta, Latvia, Gibraltar, Armenia, and Scotland. We've only beaten 2 teams in the top 100 out of all his games. So, I mean, I think you have to look at it. And Paddy mentioned the transition period earlier on. 3 years for a transition period. I mean, you have to see some sort of improvement. Maybe not after 1 year, and maybe not after 2 years, but the third year is when it really hits the fan. Like, come on, we have to see some sort of improvement. And it's not coming. It's a results game. And the fact is, the results are not there to back it up. I think the best thing to do would be to let him go now. Let him.
That's what I mean.
I'm getting to that, but let him go now. Get a new manager in. He can take the last half to the Euro qualifiers. He can embed his style, philosophy, whatever, and the players will be much more used to him come the World Cup qualifiers. I have 2 names wrote down that I think that will do an awful lot better. I've Neil Lennon, who is very, very realistic. Granted, people will say, okay, it's easy to win at Celtic. He still won a championship at Hibs, and he went over to Greece and he won a Greek Cup with Ammonia. And another one who I think is
Cyprus, you fucking easy. Sorry, Cyprus.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
And Ammonia, basically he went over to Ammonia, he won a cup there. Chris Hughton as well for Newcastle. He did a decent job for a while there at Newcastle. He did a good job with Brighton earlier on in his tenure. And he's Premier League experience. I just feel that
He's the guy.
Stephen Kelly, I'm not sure if he's the manager.
Want him sacked.
Well, look, let's just put it this way. I mean, both of these managers have experience at the elite level, and the fact is Stephen Kenny has absolutely zero experience at the elite level, and it's being shown now. He got the tactics absolutely horribly wrong over there in Greece. They're playing against a side who's 52nd in the world, and boys, we were absolutely outplayed. That game should have been 4 or 5-1. Like, you know, we were so lucky it was only 2-1. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were absolutely outplayed. You have to look at results at some stage. 3 years, boys. That's what I'd have to say. No hate to the man. I like him a lot.
This Greece game is being blown out of proportion a little bit. Like when the draw was made for this group, they were higher than us. They held France to a 1 goal and only conceded to a dodgy penalty. Like they're not.
That was yesterday.
They have Gus Poyet in there playing like, and I think they're a decent side. That was always going to be a tough game, and I mean, like it was a game that was on a knife edge. Now, in results wise, yes, we probably could have lost 3, 4, maybe 1, but like Neil Lennon, you said elite level. I don't think either of them have ever been at an elite level. I think Scotland is not an elite level.
Chris Hughton was Premier League, wasn't he, with Brighton?
Yeah, and he did a good job for a while in the Premier League. He did a good job for a while in the Premier League. It's the elite level, you know? So I think that's a completely fair shot. Maybe you don't like the Neil Lennon shout, but I still feel he would be a better manager for Ireland than Stephen Kenny. But look, Paddy, it's not the fact that we lost over in Greece. It's not the fact that Greece have a couple of nice footballers. So that we weren't even competitive in that game. We weren't even.
Okay. Dan, I'm going to come to you because I could see you were building up there to say something.
Sorry, Dan.
Can't get a word in. So I'll come to you. I suppose just same thing, and I will address the Hughton and Lennon thing afterwards. John, okay? Fire away, Dan.
Give us until the end of the campaign anyway. See where we're at. If not, I don't know who we're going to bring in. Or like Roy Keane. Like, I'd love to see us, but I just for the crack more than
Well, I think just with the Roy Keane thing, I mean, he was the one that drove Declan Rice away. I don't really want to spend too much time talking about him, but it was well documented that he was the one going around and doing that, and he was fighting with players like John Walters and stuff like that. So I just, maybe there's more homegrown Irish players in there now that he might work well with. I don't know, but
who are other names being thrown around, like your Shells man?
Lee Carsley.
I actually think that Damien Duff would be a great appointment. I don't think he would actually cost the FAI that much. I wouldn't like to see him leave Shells because I think he's actually starting to really do well. I think in the next couple of seasons, I think Shells would be one of the main teams in the League of Ireland Premier Division, and I hope that he's there to steer that. But I think if it was to be from an international point of view, I think he'd have the respect, he'd have the character. You see him every time he speaks in the media, everybody listens to him and he draws eyes to everything. I think he would actually have the perfect personality. He'd fight back to the media. He can be crabby when he wants to be. I think that's what Kenny lacks, is just that maybe that character in the media, that he's too nice. Like when people have a go at him, he's like, "Oh no, that's terrible. You shouldn't be speaking to me like that." And then kind of looking at the press officer, whereas you need someone with a
Duff sits in a bit too much tactically.
Well, look at the players Duff has in comparison to some of the other teams in the league. I know maybe the lads might not watch the League of Ireland as much, but if you actually look at the squad he's assembled, a lot of them, a lot of the players are young lads that he's brought through. And if you're talking about what Kenny's doing and not going too far away from his philosophy, and instead of ripping all that up and going for a Houghton or a Neil Lennon, and you bring in someone who actually wants to play that style of football, number one, he has to respect because of his career. Number two, he's doing something good at Shelbourne. Got them to a cup final as well last year. Again, I go back to the squad that he had in comparison to other teams. He's doing a really good job there, despite what people want to say. People want to say, "Oh, he doesn't win enough games." But again, you look at the squad in comparison to other teams. In my opinion, I think he's doing a really good job there. And I think now with the added investment, he has no real reason to leave Shelbourne now with the added investment there. But he would be the first name that I would think of if you're going to replace Stephen Kenny with anybody. But at the same time, as a Shells fan and a selfish point of view, I wouldn't like to see him leave. But then again, it is the country.
But I think he'd leave given the opportunity.
But the only thing is that didn't he leave the FAI over the thing what happened with England? So there's that. Would he go back to the FAI? I heard he was furious over that. So it was showing the video or something against England and whatever was leaked there. So Stephen Bradley
Duff would be a good shout. Honestly, I do. I agree. I think he'd be a good shout. He'd motivate the players well, I feel. And as you said, I mean, in terms of results, he's done okay at Shelbourne. So people have lambasted that during the week. So I agree.
Roy Hodgson, I heard it, and then Madwin.
No chance he's Palace.
I mean, Palace not guaranteed to be kept on at Palace. They might tinker with it a little bit, but
those names are like Big Sam as well. They're just lads watching.
Imagine Big Sam would be funny though.
Never gonna happen.
Could never be me. Could never be me. What's it?
I guarantee though, Big Sam would actually like grind out results though. The football might be shit, but excuse me the language, but I guarantee he would grind out results. That's
look,
what he does.
One thing on that, right, is that how many times in the past have Irish fans bemoaned playing shy football and nicking a goal off a Shane Duffy header from a set piece every single time and not playing till we actually go a goal down? Not that we did that against Greece, but anyway, and score from a set piece. But anyway, you can't deny that watching us under Kenny has been better than the previous Mick McCarthy just gone and Martin O'Neill. Despite, I know, look, O'Neill got good results and stuff like that with I would say he was lucky in a sense. He had players and leaders in there like John O'Shea and Robbie Keane and all these lads amongst Glenn Whelan, Wes Hewlin, all amongst that kind of group. And he was kind of able to galvanise that team and mix it in with players like Hendrick and Brady and stuff like that when they were young. But I think that's where Kenny's lacking, is those players, those leaders to kind of come in and do that. You get John Egan, who's played a large part of his career as a championship player. He had a bad injury as a young lad. But I'm not saying that John Egan isn't quality. I think he's brilliant. I thought he should have got a move from Sheffield United when he came up from the Premier League the first time. I was surprised he didn't. But I just look at that and I think like that's where we're lacking, is that the couple of leaders just around the squad. I know, look, people might look upon McLean, but again, his career, He's largely been at lower end Premier League teams. Doing okay in the Championship, but never really like player of the year in the Championship or anything like that. Been a good solid squad player, don't get me wrong. Duffy been as a good solid squad player again in the Premier League. This and that. So we don't like. I'm not saying we don't.
We're lacking
players.
a couple of juggernauts.
We're just lacking. Like Scotland seem to have those players now. Like they've got Tierney, they've got McGinn, they've got Robertson is and then they've got like I know Craig Gordon was their goalkeeper, but who's their goalkeeper now? I can't remember.
Angus Gunn.
Actually, Gordon was horrific against us, actually, wasn't he? So, but my point is the fact that you look at Scotland and how they're grinding out results, beating Norway the other day. They beat Spain away from home. They've got McTominay in there as well. That's another kind of Premier League player. So again, they're players that are all playing at their clubs. Maybe not McTominay at United, but you imagine he would kind of move on and play. He would get a Premier League club if he used to move on easily. And that's maybe where I think we're lacking. But in terms of like, what other managers? If you're going on Hodgson route, you're going on Sam Allardyce. Again, that comes down to I'm talking about the poor football and praying to God, the most boring stuff. But I thought under Kenny, it's been a lot more enjoyable. Paddy, what do you think?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, no, the football has absolutely been more enjoyable. It's been, a nice passing style of play. But at the end of the day, I think every Irish man and woman and child or whatever would swap these nice performances to be bored on a plane or bored on a train to Berlin in a year's time or so. So as much as I like the good football, I'd absolutely swap every iota of a nice pass to be getting results. And listen, I think, as I said, Stephen Kenny, until we actually find a worthy successor, as John said, the bar is very low. Like I don't really, the style of play is secondary if it gets us to a big tournament again, because it's been 8 years now, hasn't it? So yeah, or 7 maybe. It's been tough.
Jonathan, you were going to say something there, I think.
It was just basically in terms of the managers. No, I just the names I mentioned, I just feel there is better out there. And yeah, I just think that's in terms of performances, obviously it's good to watch. And I think it's been good to watch for the majority, like Paddy said there, but you look at the results, some of the results are really, really bad. And even some of these good performances are, easy on the eye performances are resulting in some really, really poor results. I mean, you're looking at Luxembourg there, you're looking at Finland, you're looking at a lot of home losses, kind of stuff like that. So I agree with Paddy. It's nice to turn on the TV and watch Ireland play well against, some other country, but at the end of the day, the score after 90 minutes is the main thing, and it's simple as that.
Well, I remember saying when we were getting rid of Mick McCarthy and Martin O'Neill, I said I'd actually rather go out and watch us give teams a game. Now I respect that games like Luxembourg we didn't, and Azerbaijan and Armenia, those games we definitely didn't. Okay, and horrendous names and results. But then you look at the game. I know we lost against France, but we went out and gave them a game. They got one chance really where they punished us, and that's just their quality that they have. Portugal, 88 minutes, that was a brilliant performance from an Irish team, but one of the best performances in recent times, that you would say. I know we lost in the end, 2 Ronaldo goals, but I just, again, you maybe put that down to experience. You maybe had an experienced leader in there. We maybe get over the end of that game. I remember actually speaking to Matt Doherty after that, and he said winning that game maybe gets rid of the weak mentality that we kind of have at the moment. So they definitely felt that.
I think we fare a lot better against teams who actually play ball. Like as you said there, like some of our better games have been those 2 Portugal games. The game against France, we really do seem to turn up. But that's why, like, I have call me crazy, but I have a weird optimism for the next one against Netherlands and France. Whatever about France and Paris, fair play. But this Netherlands side are absolute, by their standards, garbage. And the way we fared against Portugal, home and away, and France, like we were talking about Greece. Greece might go on to finish second. It actually might be Netherlands that we're looking to pip the third. Whether that has much bearing, I don't know. But because of the style of play that Kenny likes, I think the teams that actually play football, we actually do fare well against, rather than those really defensive sides. So I don't know. I'm weirdly optimistic we can catch the Dutch.
And then you're kind of overlooked there because we were all kind of talking. But have you any input on any of the stuff there, what we were talking about before we finish up?
I think we're probably competing with the Netherlands now. I think Greece are actually a lot better than we probably assumed. The Netherlands aren't looking that great. So I think we can go to Ireland, get a draw, and hopefully we can get a win here at the Aviva.
And
Sorry, Virgil. Sorry, Virgil.
No, boys, I think that's wild. I mean, I think it's massive disrespect to the Dutch. They were in a Nations League semi-final just a few days ago. Granted, they lost to Croatia. They brought them to extra time. They were favourites in that game.
That is no better than their recent form, though. That's got them.
Yeah, I know, but Croatia, a really good side. Netherlands, I think I was looking there yesterday. I think they're 6th in the world ranking. It's like, boys, I think we need to calm down a little bit here.
Ireland consistently get up for the big games, though. We consistently.
I know, but I reckon a draw out of one of those 2 games would be good. Like, we still have to respect the Dutch, boys. They have some really good footballers.
It might be good, but it wouldn't be good enough. I think we have to have aspirations of doing why can't we beat Netherlands at home? Like with the Aviva on the back, they get up for look at France. We brought them the whole way, and France are by far and away a better side than Netherlands. I think I by no means I don't think it's unrealistic. I think it's a bit kind of tongue in cheek, but I think it's feasible.
Yeah, I think that game is
The best team
is away.
Sorry, Bob.
I was just saying.
The one
I think the September game is away.
Oh, is it? Are they both away then? Because I think the France one's obviously Paris.
Well, I'll check. But Dan, you just while I'm checking that, you didn't say whether you're Kenny in or Kenny out. You avoided the question.
We kind of touched on it a bit last night talking. I kind of neither. I don't have a particularly strong opinion on it because again, who do you bring in? He seems like such a nice guy. Like I'm loving this Irish team, to be honest. Even though I guess we're not getting the results, I'm liking the way we play at times. Like that France game was one of the most enjoyable football matches I've ever seen in all my life. But that was with Coleman on the pitch. Like we need a leader like him on the pitch. Like who are you going to look at on the pitch against Greece? Like Jesus,
Doherty's on his way to Saudi Arabia now as well.
Yeah, that should be the end of his Ireland career if he goes to Saudi. I'm sorry, like we can't have a Saudi league player in the team.
Well, Ronaldo plays for Portugal.
Yeah, he shouldn't though. That's at their detriment.
The game, Jonathan. The game is at home against Netherlands. Sorry, you were right.
Okay, but Doherty made 2 sub appearances for Atletico Madrid. I think he played something like a combined 26 or 27 minutes. The only thing is, you were saying why we can't beat Netherlands. It's like it's the best team we've beaten in Kenny's reign of Scotland. And also to add to that as well, I was watching Netherlands and Croatia game the last day. Netherlands ended up after 90 minutes getting a draw. They haven't been beaten at home for I think they said over 30 years. So I mean,
what?
Put some respect on the
Is it actually?
Yeah, because Croatia were like 2 minutes away, and then the commentator was like, "Oh, they haven't been beaten in was it Rotterdam or something like that for over 30 years."
Oh, Rotterdam. They play in Amsterdam.
No. It could have been Amsterdam, but they said they haven't been beaten there at home for 30 years. That's what they were saying.
God knows how many times they play at Rotterdam though a year. That's the only thing I would say to that. But like, I get your point.
But it could have been Amsterdam, Paul. I don't remember. It was one of them, but he said over 30 years.
I'd say they were turned over at least. Well, look, anyway, I see your point. I don't think Netherlands should be overlooked. I think everyone's going, oh well, France smashed them. That doesn't mean we're going to. It'll be an interesting battle. Again, it's going to come down to whether we can keep players fit or not. Like if we go into that game without Evan Ferguson, everyone's going to go, oh no, Jesus. You know what I mean? Well, it's all well and good saying we have him now. If Van Dijk takes another injury like he did against Pickford, is he going to be out? You just don't know.
Oh, but let's not tempt fate here, Paul. Let's not tempt fate here, Jesus. Listen, for Ireland's hopes, I hope he's injured for that game. Only that one game. Only that one game.
That's in the season's on. So
yeah, but just that one game in a hypothetical world.
If he's out for that game, it'd be good.
I'd love to see us adapt the 4-3-3. I seen this talked about on Twitter this week. I would love to see a system change a little bit. If everyone's fit, 4-3.
But he started with that.
Yeah,
he had started with.
I didn't think we had right now the personnel isn't available. Like imagine a front three: Ogbene, Ferguson, and Johnston, and then at the back four. I don't know how Ryan Manning hasn't been called up, by the way, at left back. He was one of the players of the season.
Seems to be an issue with him and Kenny. I think that's what.
Yeah,
I'm hearing.
it's got to be. Yeah, I knew it'd be something like that, and because we
He
obviously
did just have a baby as well. He did just have a baby.
Okay. Well, hopefully that can be kind of resolved, because I'd love to see us try just a tradition, like a kind of 4-3-3. You know, Coleman at right back, I'd still persist with if he comes back in fit, because I think he still has a lot to offer. Thank God that injury wasn't as bad as it was once feared. But yeah, I'd love a 4-3-3. I hope we see some sort of iteration of it soon.
The only thing about Coleman is like he's gonna be phased out at Everton next season. I think Patterson's gonna be number one choice, and I think Coleman's lucky to play 25 games next year. And I think what he'll probably be looking at is a coaching role, maybe. And you know what? If the next Ireland manager comes in at that stage, Coleman could be coaching at Everton and maybe at Ireland, if that is the case. And I think he'd be a great member of the coaches.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, he's has the head for it. He knows the game so well, and obviously, like, I don't think you could find the sounder Irish international ever. All the stuff he does for charity and stuff. What a guy.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there. I've probably made 2 videos there. Out of the final word. So yeah, a huge thanks to all the lads for joining us. If you haven't checked out their profiles, Paddy is at Mr. Paddy Murphy on all socials. I think Jonathan is at Jonathan Morley 97, and Dan Casey is at Super Dan Casey on all platforms as well. If you want me, we probably don't, but if you do, it's at Paul Neal 90. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll speak to you all soon.